Okay, let's dive in. We're talking WWDC 2025. Apple's big developer conference is, well, it's almost here.
Right, the time of year we get the first look at all the new software, iOS, macOS, the whole lot.
And we've got some sources lined up, Macworld, TechCrunch, trying to sort of piece together what's actually likely.
Exactly. The mission here is really to filter out the noise, focus on what these reports suggest are the big things to expect, especially around design.
Because it's coming up fast, June 9th to 13th, and that keynote, the main event, is Monday, June 9th.
And the speculation this year feels, well, particularly intense.
Yeah, it does. So let's start with that persistent rumor, the one that's just been floating around for ages now.
The big design overhaul. That's been the constant drumbeat. Major changes expected across their operating systems.
And Apple, well, they don't usually just come out and say, hey, new design coming. They hint, right?
They hint. And according to these reports, we got a pretty significant hint just this past Monday, June 2nd.
Which was exactly 1 week before the keynote. Convenient timing.
Very. What happened was the Apple developer website got an update. New graphic in the header.
Okay, and the key thing, there was a tagline with it.
There was. The tagline was Sleek Peek.
Sleek Peek. Okay. So what are Macworld and TechCrunch saying that means?
Well, the interpretation seems pretty unanimous. They're seeing it as Apple basically confirming those design rumors.
Ah, so it's not just like random speculation anymore.
Less so, yeah. Sleek Peek feels like a direct nod, a concrete sign that, yes, a new look is on the way.
Okay, so if we accept that a new, slicker look is coming, what kind of look are we talking about? What are the sources pointing to?
The main idea seems to be making things feel more consistent, more cohesive across all the different Apple devices.
Right, like making your iPhone feel more like your Mac visually. Or
kind of. And the specific rumor, the really interesting one, is that it's drawing inspiration directly from VisionOS.
From the Vision Pro headset software. Really?
That's the report. So you might see, elements of its look, the depth effects, maybe the transparency, window styles, just showing up potentially in iOS 26, iPadOS 26, macOS, whatever the next version is called, watchOS, tvOS 2. And VisionOS itself will get updates, obviously.
Wow. Okay, hang on. If VisionOS elements come to the iPhone or the Mac, that's more than just changing colors, right? That affects how you actually use the thing.
It absolutely could. Think about interactions, visual hierarchy.
Yeah.
It might feel quite different.
But how would that actually feel day to day? That's a pretty big potential change they're hinting at there.
It really is.
Yeah.
But it's not just about the design overhaul. The sources also mention some other features possibly coming.
Okay, like what? New apps?
Yeah, exactly. There's talk of a completely redesigned calendar app, for one.
Oh, okay. Anything else?
And maybe a new gaming app as well. That's also been mentioned.
Interesting. And what about for the developers themselves? Anything specific for them?
Well, this is significant. There's a rumor they might get direct access to some of Apple's own AI models for building apps.
Ah, AI. Okay, now this is where the reports get a bit confusing. Maybe paradoxical.
They do, because some sources are suggesting that Apple might actually downplay general AI features in the keynote, or maybe not mention them much at all.
Downplay AI, but it's everywhere else. Why would they do that? What's the reasoning given?
The reports suggest it might be due to, well, challenges they're facing. Perhaps getting those big, broad consumer AI features ready for prime time.
Okay, so maybe hold back on the general ask anything type AI.
Right, but, and this is the key distinction the sources make, they are still expected to talk about specific targeted AI tools.
Oh, okay. Like
the coding assistant. There are strong reports about an AI-powered tool coming to Xcode, specifically to help developers write code.
And didn't one source mention a partnership for that with Anthropic?
That's right. TechCrunch mentioned Anthropic. Partnering up for a specific tool like that, while maybe keeping their broader stuff under wraps, that's an interesting strategy, if true.
Yeah, using external expertise for one thing while their own big-picture AI develops. Makes sense.
It could. Now, slightly different topic, but also potentially big. The naming.
Oh, yeah, the version numbers. What's the rumor there?
So instead of, iOS 19, macOS 16, or whatever the next numbers would be, they might switch to naming them after the year.
Yeah.
So iOS 26, iPadOS 26, watchOS 26, tvOS 26.
Tying it directly to the year 2026 release cycle, that would certainly be a shift in how they do things.
It would. A bit more like how macOS used to have geographic names, but year-based this time.
Okay, so just to make sure everyone has the practical details, the keynote, when and where?
Monday, June 9th. Starts 10 a.m. Pacific.
Which is 1 p.m. Eastern Time.
Correct. And you can stream it live on Apple's website, apple.com, or on their YouTube channel.
Got it. So boiling this all down, based on these Macworld and TechCrunch reports, the biggest signal seems to be this design change, confirmed sort of by that sleek peek hint.
Yeah, that feels like the headline act. A major visual refresh, heavily influenced by VisionOS, seems very likely based on this hint.
And then we've got these potential new apps, the developer AI tools, even if general AI is quiet, and this possible shift in naming conventions.
Right. It helps sort of focus our attention on what seems most probable.
Yeah.
Especially the big design shift. Cutting through some of the wilder speculation, maybe.
Definitely. So thinking about that VisionOS influence possibly bleeding over into the devices you use every day, what parts of that Vision Pro interface would you actually want to see on your iPhone or Mac? Or maybe what parts would make you a bit hesitant? Like maybe the floating windows are cool on a headset but on a phone. Something to think about before the keynote hits.